Hello, this is Debbie Ridpath, the OE children's book author and illustrator. I almost forgot my microphone. See, I should remember my checklist. So what I'm trying today for the first time is live streaming with my iPad. And what I've done is taken a photo of a pussy willow, which is the last bit that remains from this wonderful bouquet of flowers from my friend Kathy Rutland, who lives in Yellowknife, and we were supposed to be visiting with each other. But because of the pandemic, everything's been canceled. So anyway, it lasted, the flowers were gorgeous, lasted about a little over a week, week and a half. So the only thing that is remaining was this one twig of a pussy willow twig. And I thought, I want to turn that into found object art, but it was pretty tiny, and I thought, why not try live streaming with my iPad for the first time? So I am using an iPad with an iPad pencil, and you could see I actually have a little skin on it, a Crayola pattern. I can't remember where I ordered it. I think Slick Wraps, except that a lot of people are having problems ordering from Slick Wraps, so I cannot recommend them. And I thought you'd be curious about how I draw on the iPad. You guys can see everything, right? So what I did, in case you missed the beginning, is I took a macro photo of the pussy willow and imported it into my iPad. And what I do when I do really, really tiny found object art is work on it either on my computer or on my iPad, because that way it gives me a little bit more flexibility. All right, so what I do is I import the photo and then I add an extra layer. And let's see, what kind of pen do I have? Let's see. Oh, it's a little bit too gray. I want black. Do I want black? You know what? I want white because I'm going to add little eyes to these guys. Oh, and also feel free to ask me anything while I draw. But one reason I'm starting, oh, and also, see, I can't remember I got this. I think I bought this when I went to Europe a couple of years ago. It looks like part of a glove. It's actually a glove, but only with a little finger. And I use this so that I don't leave marks on the iPad when I draw. And if I find it online, I will post a link. But let's try this and see. You know, I don't want to put eyes there. I want this to be a story somehow. Now maybe this little guy maybe these are alien creatures that are, see, I'm totally into aliens, that are all eating. I don't really know what these are. This branch. And let's do a little bit of an outline because, you know, I'm going to give this little creature, I'm going to have to outline black, I think. Again, I'm not sure what this is, but it's eating the pussy willow branch. Or maybe it could be underwater. So this is what I like doing a lot of times. I like taking a macro shot of something and then just, you know, I talk about stream of consciousness impromptu found object art. I don't really have something in mind. So occasionally it turns out not happy and perky, but just quirky. So if you are expecting a happy, perky Pussy Willow found object art, this may not be for you. I'm not sure what this is. But these guys are all looking worried. Oh, I know. I know what I could do. All right. I'm still not sure what this creature is, but in case anyone's missed it earlier, but I should put these in all different layers. But I have a layer on top of the Pussy Willow. That way I can always turn the layer off, and if I don't like that, you know what? I am going to change that. I might still keep this because those guys looked a bit strange, right? So instead of that, I am going to do creatures sitting on top. These guys are still going to be a little bit quirky. But and because I want to color in the cover of the book. Oh, yay, there's people here. Marcia asked, are you using a stylus or your finger? I am using my Crayola Apple pencil. Well, it's an Apple pencil that I got a little skin to put on top of it. I ordered online. Oh, hello, Kitten, Timid Kitten. I remember you from before. Nice to see you here again. So anyway, I want to color in the book, but because I'm not sure what. And this is actually part of how I illustrate children's books. I have a lot of layers. I use a lot of layers, and mainly it gives me more flexibility. So let's say I want to do a red book. Because I use a separate layer, it means that I could change my mind later. Okay. So it's not really clear what this thing is, but that's how I like it. This guy's reading. Now what should I turn this into? And again, this Pussy Willow, it's not entirely white. This Pussy Willow is all that's remaining of a beautiful flower bouquet that my friend Kathy sent me from Yellowknife. I don't know what this guy's up to, but obviously no good. Maybe he actually wants to read the same book as the other creature. But see, yeah, so maybe she is at the top just reading really innocently, but he says, you know what, I want that book, and I tried borrowing it from the library, but it was on hold, and I am so going to get that book. What should I do here? Those kind of ears kind of look like Yoda, but this is not Yoda. This is a Pussy Willow creature. You know what? This book needs pages. So again, I'm going to go under, see all the layers I'm doing. I'm a big fan of a zillion layers. Marcia says, if you want to change the color, you just have to find that layer. Yes, exactly. And this is what I do when I'm illustrating children's books. You know, one of these times I should open up, I should pick one of the picture books I've illustrated already, because I'm not really supposed to show you guys ones I'm working on now, and show you how I work on my picture book illustrations. And with Gerpel and Preen, because of course if you guys oh, and the color's all off. Here, I'm going to turn off the green screen temporarily. So Gerpel and Preen was partly I did on the computer, partly via crayons, partly photography, so it was a little bit more complicated, but that made it more exciting too. All right, so this guy is climbing up and I'm adding pages. I'm going to add some on top too. All right, so now we have these guys, and this guy's, maybe he's reading a really scary thing. You know what I feel like should be? I feel like putting something on top here. If you talk to other illustrators, that's not the right color. I want blue, maybe blue. Not everybody uses, if they work on the computer, some people work on very few layers, but I'm a big layer person. You guys can see what I'm doing, right? And again, I'm wearing this glove because as I work on the iPad, I find if I don't have something underneath my hand, it leaves marks. But you don't have to have this. I used to just put a piece of paper or a piece of Kleenex or something just to prevent contact. All right. This is actually intriguing me, these characters, because at this point, I don't know what's happening, but I know that there definitely something happening. Now this guy, oh, and also for the iPad, if I accidentally do something like that, if I tap with 2 fingers, it erases it. So a lot of times I like sketching on the iPad. I sketch on with just pen and paper or pencil and paper a lot, but I find I go through a lot because I tend to do a lot of sketching, and even though paper is inexpensive, I go through a lot of it. And also sometimes I want to keep the sketches, but as I think I showed you all my office, it is a tiny office. I mean, it has a lot of things in it, so I have piles and piles of I don't see how you illustrators out there who work entirely off the computer, where you keep all your sketches and all your proofs and prints and everything. If anyone out there is a professional illustrator, I would love to hear from you. So I have a question from Janet. What program are you using? I'm using Procreate. Right now this is Procreate on my iPad. Here is, I'm working on my iPad here. Oh, sorry. My iPad here. Oh, and wow, that's interesting. It turns. This is my first time live streaming my art with my iPad. So this is a very, another experiment for me. At some point, I hope to quit saying I'm experimenting, but I always like learning new things, and who knows, there might be a time where, no, how am I going to do eyes here like that? Where the kids that okay, I have to concentrate for a second. What am I going to do here? I'm going to put, there might be a time in the future where maybe I'll do an art workshop and let young readers see how I draw art on the iPad, because there are more and more kids with iPads as well. Also, I know of some, concentrate. What should I put on top? This guy is going to be a little bit unusual, I think. I'm going to add a bit of color because notice there's white on white. There's not a lot of contrast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample the furry look here, and I'm going to turn it a bit greener. And let's see, this guy, yeah, there's a little bit greener. And I am going to give this guy a little bit more a tail. I'm going to give this guy a tail. and color this guy in to make it, oh, maybe white. Make it look more like here. Something else I like about Procreate is that I can, if I hold my finger on any part of the picture, I can sample the ink. So it's like a little eyedropper. And so now what I draw with is that color. Oh, I actually like the outline in green more than black. So what I'm going to do is go over this in green instead. And that's because it's a little bit more contrast. So, but this doesn't look like he's climbing really. You know, I'm going to change that. Unfortunately, I put it all in one layer. So I'm going to use my eraser. At the top right, you see a little eraser. And just erase. Oh, and I'm going to make the eraser smaller. Let me think. And this is what I find. I love this part of the creative process. I like, sorry, in the US you say process. Actually, I have no idea where all of you are from. You might be all from Canada. Who knows? What was I? Oh dear. What was I saying? I get so distracted when I'm drawing. I find when there's certain, I don't know if I'd love to hear from any illustrators out there. When I get in certain stages of my art, everything else falls away. I just get into a zone. I love that. I love just losing myself in the art. Okay. All right. I am going to put the arms on a separate layer because I want it to look more like this little creature is trying to climb up, pulling himself up. That looks sort of... Oh, you know what? I'm going to give it wings too, but the wings are going to be so small, they're obviously useless. Or at least yet. Oh, it'll look good with the wings. You know, I'm not going to... Wait. Maybe. Nah, no wings. No wings. Okay, so we have... Oh, this is kind of turning out interesting here. Okay, but now we have this guy who is obviously not like the others. One of these things does not belong. And I am going to use... It's going to be a little bit nasty. So let's see. Oh, red. Maybe it's some evil creature who's really hungry and wants to eat the others, which is not very nice. But who knows what will happen. And let's see. Let's make a bit of a pointier nose. The white looks too not right. So you know what? I'm going to change that. Change that to something lighter. That looks a little bit more natural. And have the only white be little fangs. Nah, that doesn't look good. See, that is one advantage of working on the computer or the iPad. I can try things out, but the problem with that is that, like the advantage of working on paper is you're committed. You know, you're committed, and that's why I love found objects. With this, notice how much time I'm spending tweaking little, which can be satisfying, but it also, if you're a perfectionist, which I'm not, or you're a tweaker, that could mean, especially if you're working on a picture book, that you spend way too much time on trying to make things like little tiny details, and you lose track of the overall picture, which is not good when in the early stages of working on a picture book. But for this sort of thing, it's kind of relaxing, I must say. What should I do? You know, I'm going to do arms. And obviously this creature is crawling very slowly because I'm going to do black. Very slowly because these other little pussy willow guys can't hear him. And his mouth's going to be open. So what I'm going to do is actually nah, that doesn't look good. See, I'm tweaking way too much. All right, and then I have to make sure, look at the overall. Yeah, this is good. Oh, this is good. I actually like this a lot. And he's obviously crawling very slowly. And I'm going to make him a lot larger. Oh, you know, I should have made... Did I put those arms on a separate? Yes, excellent. Because on the layer right below, I am going to use another type of maybe dry ink, or maybe I like trying oh, these are, I haven't tried some of these. Leatherwood hearts. What is this? So what is that? Oh, that's a little bit too much, but maybe I can make it like this. And Timid Kitten said, what was the most difficult thing you have created? Oh, good question. It depends on what you mean by created. The hardest picture book that I have ever worked on was actually Gerpel and Preen. Mainly because it was much more complex than any of my other picture books, so many elements. But I have found that I found that if I don't work on a picture book and feel panicked, blind panicked, and oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do this, at some point, there's something wrong because it means I'm not learning something new. So I actually, in the beginning, I always felt the panic was, I can't do this, and they're going to see that I'm an imposter, and then I have no art training, and they're going to fire me and find someone. Now I have a little bit more confidence. I still go through imposter syndrome a lot, but I also have found that it's good to be scared during some part of the process, because it means that I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. That's why I'm doing more live streaming. Okay, so let's focus on this for a second. Okay, so I also want to add some texture because that doesn't look too natural. So let's add a little bit of other. What should I like experiment with different. What's that? I like these. Ew, it's a little bit too much. Oh, I went to the wrong thing too. Obviously not an expert here. I like this. Actually, you know, I kind of like the smoky. Is this gonna smoky look? Because it kind of looks like something's going on with this guy, and we're not sure why. But it's a little bit too much. So one thing I love about Procreate, you can actually change the opacity. So now if I go like, look at that, that's so cool. Oh, but it affects everything. You know, because I didn't put separate layers. That's another reason. Okay, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do another layer and try to capture that. Let's try another one. Oh, and I have to go because it's my turn to cook supper, but I really want to finish this first. Textures, what's on here? Dover Lake, what's that? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's go way down. Okay, this is good. Spending way more time on the evil guy than the innocent, sweet people. Well, not almost sweet. Okay. I actually am a long time fan of horror. When I was growing up, I loved Stephen King, and I read all of the early Stephen King. Now he writes so much I haven't caught up. I also loved Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked, This Way Comes. And for picture book horror, there, I remember my first experience with that feeling is Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. I don't know if any of you have read that, but I remember as a child feeling that, like, oh my gosh, what would it be like for Sylvester had been turned into a pebble or a rock, and his parents are looking for him, and he's there trapped, and he can't. That's pretty scary. That's pretty, a heavy emotion for a little kid. And I felt the same thing. If any of you have read Leo Leone's Swimmy, that big, large, scary fish that was eating all the other fish. But even as a kid, I loved that delicious feeling of, oh, I'm so scared. This is really scary. But then you can come back to a really safe place, and that was a great way for me to explore those feelings as a child, but then be able to come back. But even now, I will, every so often take out some Stephen King and I love middle grade horror as well. Oh, you know what I can show? Do I have it? One of my favorite middle grade horror right now is Small Spaces has anybody read that? By Catherine Arden. And I take it out sometimes just to remind myself of the atmosphere. What else? I don't have any other middle grade horror. But if you know of middle grade horror, oh, and there's, yay! Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you here. Oh, so you have Procreate? I would love to know if you guys have iPad and Procreate, because it's pretty awesome. Okay, so I got distracted. Oh, and I have like maybe 5 or 10 minutes left. So I'm going to go back to inking. And let's use dry ink. And this is sort of my scary creature. My not so nice creature, except if I was I probably wouldn't turn this into a picture. I guess I could turn this into a picture book, in which case I would not have this guy eat all the cute little creatures at the top, but he would probably learn something, and maybe he'd get indigestion. No, he wouldn't. I wouldn't have him eat him. Maybe he has his own problems, and maybe they'll convince him not to eat them. There are so many possibilities. All right, but he needs something on his head. What should I put on his head? You know what? I'm going to put... oh, that's too much. I want maybe studio. No, you know what? I'm going to do ink bleed. See, this is one of the... too big. There, it's better. I love drawing swirly bits. Those of you who have seen my picture books, you'll probably have noticed the swirly bits that I've slipped in here and there, just because I love drawing swirly bits. Oh, he's going to add purple. See, the fact that I add purple makes him a little bit less scary, right? Okay, so that's what I'm saying, but who knows. Okay, now I'm going to add some shading, because that's what I like doing. And I think there is a way of making... I obviously haven't experimented. I think opacity, add, burn. There's a multiply somewhere. Where is it? Oh, here. I think it was here. Merge down, fill. No, it wasn't. Merge. No, that's not it. I'm just, if any of you are familiar with darken, I'm going to try that. Oh, there it is. Yay. How come I missed that? All right. And what multiply, I like multiply because it's sort of, this is probably wrong technically, but in my mind, it looks like it sort of combines with whatever layer is beneath, I think. Please don't quote me, and I just like, because it looks a bit more natural than just adding, and he's sort of hanging over the branch, which is okay. And I'm going to make sort of scales. So let's see. I kind of like that. There's a story here. So if there are any young writers out there, I would love to hear what you think is happening. Because there's this kind of creepy guy in the background, and I'm gonna look at all the layers I have. I know anyone who, there are real illustrators out there who are probably saying, why are you using so many layers? But you know what? I like experimenting, and I like trying out these new brushes. I can't remember where I got some of them. Some of them I got, I forget. Sketching, painting. Oh, but this came with my iPad, and I love, oh, Michelle says, yay! Oh, very cool. Oh, I would love to see what maybe Riley and I can do an iPad drawing thing at the same time. Although we have to figure out, it's harder for, well, we'll see. We'll see. I think, I love the iPad so much. Okay. Okay, I'm getting carried away because I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out. But I kind of want to add more of a mood, and that involves putting something in the background or a little bit of shading down below. You know what? I'm going to do green. I want some kind of undergrowth or foliage in the end. Do I have anything that's organic? Ooh! Ah! Yeah. Oh, paper daisy. Snow. Oh, these are interesting. I can't remember where these came from. Maybe they came with. No, there's something. Grass. Snow gum. What's that? Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay. I'm going to put some, maybe larger. Yeah, I'm trying to remember where this came from. Oh, I like this, that if you press harder, the leaves are larger. So here some leaves are floating around. And I'm going to add another layer. Make the green a bit more, maybe a little bit different. There, let's see how that is. Oh, that's clean. So it adds a little bit more texture. Don't want to cover up that guy though, because we want people to see him and say, what's going on? Rainforest, what's that? Let's try a different layer. Whenever I'm trying something new, I want to try. Oh, I can't tell. It's hard to tell. Oh, I see. It's just, you know what? I'm going to put this behind the other layers. So not to obscure the leaves, but I kind of like how that looks. So if I was going to redo this for a picture book, boy, and I completely forgot I began with a pussy wheel. See, you never know what's going to happen. That's why I just like playing sometimes. But if this was a scene from a picture book, I would probably change the camera angle so that all the characters are not the same size. I would probably take the little one at the top reading and maybe blow her up really large so the camera angle would be from the top and you would see that red-eyed creature crawling up from the bottom. Already I'm thinking. But this is kind of cool. This is okay. And then artists out there, always sign your work because you never know. Of course I don't know if I'll share this publicly at all. I'm going to put this on a separate layer. No idea if I'm going to share this publicly, but if you do, you never know how it's going to be shared. All right, let's see. Yeah, I don't like how that looks. Spending way too much there, Studio Pen. And I'm going to add a different layer. See, I like the layers too because now from my iPad, I could send this to my Mac, my iMac, and that in Photoshop format, and then I could continue working on it in Photoshop, and I could remove different layers and play with it. And if I hate all of it, I could just start with the pussy willow again. All right. Well, that was fun. And I appreciate some of you coming by and asking questions. If you liked this, me working on my iPad. Sometimes feel free to comment or like, or if you're seeing this on YouTube, please subscribe. I keep forgetting to say that. And if you want notifications about when I go live, I heard from Michelle there is a way of, keep forgetting to look this up. On Twitter, you could set that notification. But thank you for coming by and watching my drawing. Have a creative week. Bye-bye.